Tiny Alice is an existential play by American playwright Edward Albee, first performed in New York in 1964. The production left critics and audiences perplexed with its symbolic character portrayals, unconventional and ambiguous dialogue, and exploration of themes surrounding sexuality and spirituality. The narrative centers on a wealthy and influential widow known simply as Miss Alice, who offers a substantial donation to the church in exchange for power over its operations. In response, the church assigns a cardinal's secretary named Julian to live with Miss Alice, her butler, referred to as Butler, and her lawyer. Julian soon discovers that the three are mere servants to Tiny Alice, a mysterious figure said to inhabit a large replica of Miss Alice's mansion situated within the mansion itself. The play opens in a garden of an estate owned by the Catholic Church, where lawyer converses nonsensically with two cardinals, the birds, until the church's cardinal arrives. The two engage in a discussion about their troubled school history and mutual disdain for each other's career choices, attributing their failures to character flaws. Eventually, the conversation shifts to Miss Alice, who plans to donate $2 billion in an unspecified currency to the church. Delighted by the news, the cardinal arranges for Julian to visit Miss Alice to finalize the donation details. The next scene takes place in Miss Alice's library, featuring an 18-foot-high model of the mansion. Butler arrives and inquires about the presence of anyone inside the miniature mansion. Disturbed, Julian assures him that it is empty. Lawyer enters, revealing his knowledge of Julian's history and again criticizing the cardinal. Julian defends the cardinal and confesses his own doubts about God, which led him to a mental institution. He now equates faith with sanity. A bell rings, signaling that Miss Alice is ready to meet Julian. In the following scene, Julian enters Miss Alice's office, where he encounters an elderly woman. Confused by her appearance, having been told Miss Alice was young, he watches as she removes a wig and mask, revealing her youthful beauty. She explains that she was merely playing a game. Alice then asks Julian what he thinks of lawyer and butler, disclosing that she once had a sexual relationship with Butler and occasionally engages in sexual encounters with lawyer, despite finding his personality repugnant. She inquires about Julian's past, prompting him to recount his estrangement from God. When Alice asks about his sexual history, he reveals that during his time in the mental hospital, he experienced a vision in which he had sexual relations with the Virgin Mary, who may have actually been another patient. Act 2 opens in disarray as Miss Alice rushes into the library with Lawyer in hot pursuit. Lawyer is frustrated by Julian's constant presence and wants to bring an end to their philanthropic arrangement. He accuses Miss Alice of having an affair with Julian. In response, Miss Alice declares her hatred for Lawyer, but allows him to touch her sexually as she does so. Butler and Julian return to the scene, only for Julian to discover that the model mansion is ablaze. Through a window, Butler spots the chapel burning in the distance, and both men hurry to extinguish the flames. Miss Alice utters a strange prayer in a desperate attempt to quell the fire, which miraculously seems to save both the mansion and the chapel. When Julian returns and asks what transpired, Miss Alice claims she doesn't know. In the second scene of Act 2, Butler and Lawyer engage in a role play, pretending to be Lawyer and the Cardinal, respectively, as they simulate the conversation they hope will confirm the philanthropic donation. The mock meeting devolves into a nonsensical philosophical debate about God. Scene 3 finds Miss Alice teasing Julian about his sexual naivety. She confesses her attraction to him and unexpectedly proposes marriage. However, at the end of Act 3, shortly after their wedding, Julian experiences cold feet and expresses a desire to leave. Miss Alice responds that he hasn't married her, but rather a different Alice whom she merely represents. When Julian attempts to leave to check himself into the hospital again, Lawyer shoots him. Miss Alice mourns the fact that they seem trapped in an endlessly repeating narrative, surrendering the dying Julian to the Alice within the model house. In his final moments, Julian proclaims to a mannequin wearing Alice's old lady wig that he accepts it as God. He dies with his arms outstretched, resembling a crucifixion. The play concludes with an existentialist ending that flirts with nihilism and absurdism, suggesting that one's God is chosen arbitrarily. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.